Celtics have a long history of supporting this, being a part of it with the Red Sox, and supporting Dana Farber. And I'm sure you got the lay of the land when you got here, and it's important for you that the team continues that support.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I don't know, you probably know, I grew up in the North Shore, and some of my early memories are going to Red Sox games in those red boxes. So I've put a few quarters in there over the years, and even in the Celtics, this gives me a chance to be even more involved, and really excited to do so. And I look at the connection between, these sports teams in Boston and Philanthropy, and I think, the Red Sox and the Jimmy Fund, that set the standard and, really pioneered for all the teams in Boston. And, Celtics with the Shamrock Foundation kind of followed the Red Sox and the Jimmy Fund lead. So it's real excited to be on here with you guys. Appreciate it.
Well, there's the long legacy of Celtics players getting active in the community and doing things. How does the team instill that when it comes to these? But maybe they don't have to. Maybe it's just natural with guys. But how do the Celtics make that a big part of what these guys do?
Yeah. I mean, I think you kind of hit on it a little bit. It's first. It really starts with picking the right guys. When we look at players, I mean, the first question I ask is about the character of the players. And so I think the folks we bring in have that to begin with, because there's a bigger job than just putting the basketball in the hoop. It's being a good teammate. It's being a good member of the community, and we'd certainly screen for that on the way in. And then I think the other thing I'd say is, to instill it, it's a lot of leading by example. And if you look at, what you look at Jason and Jaylen and Derek and those guys, they're out in the community. They're doing their part, and I think that sets an example for the younger guys. And it's a little subtle thing, but you may or may not notice the first thing that the rookies come in. They don't do a press conference. They go out and do a community event. So you see Chris and Dylan out there, a month ago or so. That's really important. And I think we start with the right people, and then we instill it with that leadership with the older guys. And yeah, it's an important part of the job.
You brought up growing up on the North Shore, being a Celtics fan. You bought this team exactly a year ago tomorrow, I believe. Has it been what has owning a franchise been what you expected it would be like?
Yeah, I mean it's been a crazy year for me and my family, and yeah, it's a good chance to reflect and be grateful for where we are. I've been literally living the dream. A year, 18 months ago, I'm in my driveway doing pump up videos, pregame pump up videos in front of our old basketball hoop for my family, and here we are. So it's been an amazing experience, certainly exceeded expectations. Just a lot of joy for our family and friends, and that's been great, and so certainly exceeded expectations. But it's been hard too. This summer was some really, really tough decisions, and ones that kind of broke my heart personally. So that I expected it to be hard. I expected to be some hard decisions. I guess I didn't necessarily think it would happen quite so quickly and with such magnitude. But yeah, and it's just a crazy year, and so grateful to have had this year, and looking forward to a lot more.
So when you talk about heartbreak, Brad comes to you and says, "Hey, here's what we're thinking with Jaylen." You talked in that press conference about sort of almost needing to be convinced, or yeah. Is it hard to separate the fan part of you from the owner part of you when it comes to making that decision?
Yeah, I mean, It's a really good question. It's one that I struggled with at the time, and like you said, I have so much. We have. I truly believe we have the best front office in the NBA, and I think it's a source of advantage for us every day, and so I definitely have a level of trust in Brad and his team. But man, as a fan, that was tough, and I really need to be convinced, and to take the fan passion out of it, because I'm a super fan, was tough, and to frankly to put aside the. And you have to kind of I think you have to be a sociopath if you don't worry a little bit about what other fans are going to think, and so to put all that to the side and just do the job, and I step back and realize you have a responsibility to protect and advance the legacy of the Celtics, and we've got the best brains in basketball, and this is something that they had conviction around, and I needed to be convinced, and that's my job. But they did convince me, and we did it, and we did it with conviction, and I think we'll see where it goes, but we feel good about it. But
Bill,
all that stuff is tough. I mean, it's really tough on a personal level. I really like Jaylen as a person, as the role he played in the community, and obviously the role he played on the court. Will be sorely missed.
Bill, speaking of Brad, to buy a team with such great leadership like Brad Stevens, like Joe Mazzulla, what's that working relationship been like this past year, and where do you see the future with the three of you?
Yeah, I mean, I should have mentioned Joe as a source of real advantage for us, because he's tremendous. But I would say just first of all, for me, onboarding, I look around, you see other teams, and they have turnover and kind of replacing folks here and there. I mean, this was pretty seamless for me to come in and have A+ people throughout the organization, and it's the Boston Celtics. I mean, we should have that quality and that kind of that excellence in the leadership, and we certainly have it, and that's made it much easier onboarding for me. And one of the things that you kind of realize is you realize you don't know as much as you think you do when you come in the door. And thank goodness that these guys were here to help onboard me. And as I said in my original press conference, it's really, I want to do this in a collaborative way. I'm looking to them to make recommendations, and I'll pressure test those. But it's been great, and they're really great basketball minds, and on top of that, they're really good people, and folks that I really have enjoyed working with, and I think they stand for what the Celtics should stand for, is that that commitment to excellence, and doing it with real leadership and real character. So it's been fantastic.
Bill, you talk about your passion and your love, but understanding you're also an owner. As a fan, a diehard fan, I think the most important thing is seeing another banner get raised and put up in those rafters. For us fans out here, what in your mind, what do you believe that you want to see with the Celtics team? And are you willing to do whatever it takes to, put this team in a position where they can raise another banner with you as the owner?
Yeah, I mean that's it. I said before, and I'll say it again. I mean, we're not playing for second. We're playing. We're playing to win and to raise banners. And someone joked and calling me at the beginning Billy Banners, because I said that, and that is I want to earn that. I want to earn that, and I haven't yet. And we have, I think, we have the ingredients to do it, and certainly the commitment, and you have, the fans, and the organization has a commitment for me. We'll do whatever it takes, and I'm desperate to win, and I mean, it's the Boston Celtics, and so we should, and we will.
Bill, a lot of people a year ago thought the sale price was astronomical when you led the group that purchased this team. Well, I don't think they're saying that anymore after the Lakers sale. What did you make of that sale, and what does that do for your valuation of the franchise?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty nutty, and I don't. I mean it's. I just. I want to say this, but I don't want to sound, out of touch. But like, I don't really care that's the Lakers. This is the Celtics. It's out of my control, and frankly, I'm not going anywhere, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, if you're selling the team, if you're, then sure, maybe that's a consideration. But I'm in this for the long haul, so. Yeah, it's nice for the headlines and stuff, but for the day-to-day around the Boston Celtics, that doesn't really matter, and I'm not focused on that. And but it's pretty nutty.
We love that answer. That's awesome. It would be, speaking of down the road, it would be a long time down the road. But do you need to have your own building to compete financially in this league? No. But I do think we need to have an arena that kind of creates, is consistent with the quality of and the excellence of the Celtics. And we need to have, to create, the best fan and player experience we can. And do we need to own the building to do that? No, but we certainly need to have, the ability to influence that agenda. I mean, and if we need to own the building to do it, we'll do that. But I think the other thing is, when you do that, you got to make sure that you're not losing focus on what matters. You're not in the business of, running an arena. You're in the business of running a world-class basketball team that, is putting up banners. That's the true north. That's what we need to work towards. And if owning the building needs to be part of that, then great. But it's not a necessary thing. And, I think we've got a really good partner right now on that front. So, and we've got a really good location. So, just making sure that that we're all aligned around that objective, which is to create the best fan and player experience possible, and make sure we don't lose focus on what really matters, which is putting up banners. Last one from me: Celtics, Knicks, now the 76ers. Is this the best division? Is this the best division in basketball?
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty impressive mix, and they're just I think the entire league is upgraded. So I'm not sure how that really is going to stack up. That's why you play the games, and we'll see what happens. But what I am sure of is it's a good thing because we need that. We need that competition. We need that competition every night. And we need to become, playoff ready because we haven't gotten it done the last 2 years. And, I just don't think you can, kind of glide through the regular season and expect to turn a switch in the playoffs. We need to, get out there every night and get after it. And we need to play tough opponents. And so, bring it on.
Bill, it's been awesome having you on. Thank you for joining us. I know how important this event is to the Celtics, to you, and the support for the Dana-Farber and the Jimmy Fund is awesome. So we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today.
Yeah, you bet. And thank you guys for all you're doing. And appreciate having the chance to catch up. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Good luck.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Bill. We got to take a break, but we